Math Tune-Up with Mr. Payne. Question: when do I use the quadratic formula? The answer: if a quadratic function does not factor nicely, use the quadratic formula. If we have a function that looks like this, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, that's the standard form of a quadratic function. So the quadratic formula looks like this: x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. The letters go with the letters. So if there's a 1 in front of the x squared, you're going to put a 1 where the a is. If there's a 2 where the b is, you're going to put a 2 there where the b is, and you're going to put a 2 where the b is there. If the c was 7, you would put a 7 where the c is. The plus or minus sign means you'll have a maximum of 2 roots. Let's find the roots for this function. Y equals x squared minus 1.2x minus 16.45. I don't know about you, but I cannot factor that in my head. So we'll have to use the quadratic formula. So in this case, the a value is 1, the b value is negative 1.2, and the c value is negative 16.45. I'm now going to plug those in to this formula right here and start working it out. So there I just start out by writing out the formula, and now I'm going to plug in the a, b, and c values. If I do that, I get an expression that looks like this. The b value is negative 1.2, but a negative times a negative is a positive. That's why that's positive 1.2. Plus or minus the negative 1.2 squared minus 4 times 1, that's your a value, times negative 16.45, which is your c value, all divided by 2 times 1, the a value again. As I work that out, I get to this point where I've got 1.2 plus or minus 67.24 over 2. And if I carry that through, now I'm going to break that out into the plus or minuses. So I've got 1.2 plus 8.2 divided by 2, where 8.2 is the square root of 67.24. Or I've got 1.2 minus 8.2 over 2. And that works out to give me two values for x equals 4.7 or x equals negative 3.5. And if I were to graph that, I would have a root at negative 3.5, a root at 4.7. My y-intercept is negative 16.45. The function crosses the x-axis at 2 places for 2 roots. Now, if you're working on a problem, if you get 2 roots with the same value, the function just touches the x-axis once. So in this case where you'd have x equals negative 3 or x equals negative 3, it means that the function comes down, touches the graph at negative 3, and then goes back up again. If you get a negative sign under the square root sign, stop. There are no real roots. So if you're working through a problem and you get square root of negative 25, you cannot take the square root of a negative number. You have to stop. There are no real roots for that function. And it doesn't cross the x-axis, so it looks something like that. It comes down, goes back up, doesn't cross the x-axis. That would have no real roots. Thank you for visiting this lesson.